Hey everybody, thanks for joining White Dog Outdoors. I'm Brian Spinner, and today we're going to be tying what I call the Sexi Stonefly. You know, we're going to be doing a lot of fly tying videos over the winter of our favorite fly patterns, the things that have really worked well for us in the last year or so. And we're going to be doing giveaways with each of these videos where we're going to give away a half dozen flies for each video. And in order to qualify for the giveaway, you just got to be a subscriber on the channel, give a thumbs up to the video, and leave a comment. And we're interested in knowing what kinds of videos you guys would like us to do. So do those three things, you'll qualify, and we're going to randomly select a person to send 6 flies to for every video that we do. But today we're going to be starting with the Sexi Stonefly. It's been an incredibly effective pattern for me this year. It's a fly that my buddy turned me on to. I'll actually put a link down to his Instagram down below. But this fly has been absolutely phenomenal all year for me when I'm Euro nymphing. And I'm tying up a bunch now because I actually used them all and lost them all. And I'm going out this weekend in a stream that has a really good population of big black stoneflies. So I'm tying up a bunch. You can tie them in different colors. This one here is black, obviously. I'm going to be tying a bunch of those. The one that I actually tied this summer and used almost exclusively was it was more of a brown color. So this one's black, but I'm going to be tying the brown one here for us today. So why don't we get started? I'll take this guy out of here. I'm going to be starting with, you know, I would tie these in a few different sizes, honestly. There were some streams where the fish were smaller and they weren't really handling the big fly well. They wanted to take it, but I wasn't hooking up as well. If you see our Black River video, we missed a lot of fish on that. A lot of other streams where there's bigger fish, we didn't miss a lot. In fact, I almost never missed them on this guy. In fact, I don't think I ever missed them on this guy except that one stream. But I'm going to be starting with a size 8 streamer hook. I'm going to be going down to maybe some size 10s as well for some of the smaller fish. I do know the place I'm going tomorrow or this weekend does have some bigger fish, so I'm going to tie a lot of the bigger ones. And I know for a fact there's a lot of stoneflies about that size. So we're going to start off with this hook, and I am going to make this fly pretty heavy. I want to be able to Euro nymph with it and feel the bottom, or feel keep touch on the fly as it's kind of drifting down. And honestly, when I'm Euro nymphing, most of the time I'm not even seeing the leader jump. I'm actually feeling these fish. And this particular fly, actually, I switched up to it. I had fished a run with a couple of heavy tungsten regular nymphs, and I just didn't feel like I was getting down. I was going too fast. And I put one of these guys on because I made it nice and heavy, and boy, it made every difference in the world. If you see the big brown trout that I caught on the Battenkill up in Vermont this year, this was on one of these guys. So, in fact, if you watch any of my Euro nymphing videos, you'll see that I use this a lot. For the bead, this is not a tungsten bead. You can use tungsten beads. I'm going to wrap a lot of lead on here, so the bead isn't really providing me with a ton of weight, but this is a 5/32 brass bead, and basically black or the dark platinum color. And then I'm going to start by wrapping a lot of lead on the shank of this hook. So I'm using lead wire that's 0.025. This is a nice thick lead wire, and you know, use as much lead as you want for different flies. I will tie them a little bit lighter, I'll tie them a little heavier, and I'll tie them really heavy. So I've got different flies for the different depths that I want to be able to fish. Okay. So I'm just going to start by wrapping some lead on the shank of this hook. And for this one, I know the water's going to be up a little bit. I'm gonna wrap it pretty good. So I got probably a dozen wraps of this 0.025 lead wire. I'm going to push it right up into the bead and just kind of secure the tail end of this here. Okay, just like that. All right. This one is going to be brown, so I'm going to go with a brown thread. This is just a 6/0 brown thread. If you want to add some color to these, color does sometimes help when you're in some more turbulent water sometimes. I did notice for sure when I was on more turbulent water that adding a hot spot or adding different colored legs really kind of helped the fish be able to see it in the turbulent water, and boy, they were on that. And until I added the color, they really, I wasn't getting bit at all, actually. But then on other streams, like tomorrow, I don't need extra color in the legs or a hot spot or anything like that. I've caught plenty of fish on just the brown and black stoneflies there. So, so you know, just kind of adapt and do what's necessary based on the water that you're fishing. Okay, I'm going to start with the brown thread, and I'm basically going to build a little bit of a dam behind the lead wire. And I do this for a couple reasons. One, it kind of builds a little bit of a taper. But mostly it locks that lead in pretty good, so that when I go and actually wrap my thread around that lead, it's not going anywhere. Sometimes if you don't do that, the back end will want to pull out a little bit. So I'm just going to cover this lead pretty good and wind on down toward the tail, where we're going to add our first bit of legs. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down pretty far, down to the bend pretty much. And then when I get down here, I'm going to build a little bit of a bump. And the reason I'm going to do this is I want those legs to kind of stick out a little bit. This just helps it a little bit to be able to do that. There's my little bump. Okay, now, so we call this the Sexi Stonefly because the material we're using for the legs is Sexi floss. And this material is really, really good. It's a lot better than the rubber because it's going to last a lot longer. Not that I actually keep these flies long enough to actually have the rubber go bad. I use them a lot. But I also feel like it moves a lot better. It's more fluid in the water, and it really gives it some good action, and that really seems to make a big difference. You could use rubber if you want, but I really like the Sexi floss. I did have a hard time finding the Sexi floss, and I did a lot of searching over the internet trying to find it, and I eventually happened upon the North 40 Fly Shop, and these guys had every color that I could get basically, and I got several, but these are. I was really happy with the way that they handled everything. I got all my materials really quickly. They gave me a handwritten thank you for doing business with them, which I thought was really cool, and they gave me some free stickers. So, you know, a little shout out to the North 40 Fly Shop. I will definitely be buying more materials from those guys in the future. All right, so we're going to start with the Sexi floss, and this is going to be a copper brown that we're going to do. Okay. So basically, it comes kind of clipped into the package here. I'm going to just use my scissors and kind of free one strand and pull it out, and I'm going to cut it down near the clip. And this will be enough to tie one fly. So we're going to start by giving our little tail here, and I'm just going to kind of hold it at a 45-degree angle to the fly, and I'm going to just do a little bit of a loose wrap, maybe 2 loose wraps on this, and then I can kind of position exactly where I want this to go and how I want it to look. Okay. And once I got it where I want it, then I'm gonna lock it in a little bit more and bring it down toward the bump a little bit more here. Okay. I got that guy locked in, and I'm basically just going to wrap it over the top and lock it in again on this side. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to cut the length. I might leave the length a little bit long to start. I can always trim it back later. And again, you may want to experiment on the length. Sometimes if they need that little extra bit of movement, I think it helps. Okay, we're going to bring that up to where the taper is, and then we're going to use our chenille. This is a variegated chenille. This is black and brown. This is a color I like to use for these ones. I used this color a lot this summer, and it was really, really good. Okay. So I actually haven't opened this one yet, so let me get this open. Give myself a little bit to work with here. All right, I'm going to lay it right to where the lead ended so that I can build a little bit of a taper. Build a little bit more of the body up. And bring it back to where the tailing material is. All right, I'm basically just gonna wrap, starting a little bit thinner in the back, because the stonefly is naturally thinner in the back, and then maybe building a little bit more body as I move up toward the top. So I'm just gonna hang this off the back here and kind of get it out of the way. Actually, I'm going to lock it in with a couple of wraps and then do that. Okay, and we're going to take more of our Sexi floss. And I'm basically going to lay, I want one more leg sticking this way, and I want a leg sticking out the front. Put as many legs as you want, but this is how I tie them. I'm going to lay it about a 45-degree angle. I'm going to lay one wrap, and again, do the loose wraps so that you can kind of position it the way you want. Get as much out as you want, and then you can lock it down a little bit more once you get it into place. Okay, so that one's in a good place. I can always move it around, and then I'm going to bring it up toward the front and get that in place where I want it. Get a couple of wraps in there and lock it in. That's about what I want. And again, I'm going to cut it slightly long so that I can trim it back later. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on this side. A little bit of an angle out, tie it in with a couple loose wraps, position it where I want it, tie it in a little bit tighter, bring it up to the front. Alright. And then, oops, I better cut this again to length. Alright, and then we're going to continue to wrap our chenille up the body. And just like that, I'm going to tie it off. Cut the chenille out. I'm going to fold these back and kind of build a little bit of a head. This is where you would build the hot spot collar if you want to use a little bit of color. You want to build it so you get a little bit of a color on the front there. Okay. Once I've done this, I'm really just finishing this up now. I'm just going to put a whip finish on it. Right behind the bead. And there she is. Cut this guy loose. Now these legs are a little bit lighter than what I typically use. So again, I said this was the copper brown. There is also the medium brown, which is a little bit darker. So I'm going to tie a few in different colors, and then if I want any kind of hot spot or really I want some more attention, I could use some of these golden legs here. But for this one, I'm just going to leave it as is. Okay, I am going to trim this back a little bit. The tail's a little bit long for what I think I'm going to want. I do want enough that I'll get movement in the water. But in this particular case, I don't want something that's too unrealistic. So that's pretty good. And you know, this is super simple. It doesn't take hardly any time. I really like flies that are simple but incredibly effective, and man, this is one of them. You know, my buddy kind of gave me a couple of these flies actually when we traded some gear, and I found myself on a river and I needed a heavier fly to get down. I was using some pretty heavy tungsten flies like Frenchies and Prince Nymphs and stuff like that, but I just wasn't getting down, and this bigger fly with more lead wrapped into it really just allowed me to be able to get down further. And as soon as I put that on, man, I hooked into a monster fish. Check out the big brown trout I caught on the Battenkill. That was with this guy. I've caught a lot of big fish. Look through some of our other Nymphing videos this summer, and they were pretty much all caught on this fly, this Sexi Stonefly. So I'm kind of in love with it right now, and I really want to fill my box up for winter, because winter is a great time for stoneflies. So remember, if you want to take part in the giveaway, just be a subscriber on the channel, give us a thumbs up on the video, and leave a comment letting us know what kinds of videos you guys would like to see. We're going to randomly select a comment and hook that person up with a half dozen Sexi Stoneflies. Anyway, I hope you guys have learned something. I hope you guys can get out there, tie a few of these flies, and catch a few fish on them. I think you'll find that they're going to be a really good fly to use. So thanks for joining us at White Dog Outdoors, and if you guys like what we're doing, you know, definitely subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, share with your friends. It's all appreciated. Thanks guys, and we'll see you soon.